Hey, Grammar 5, happy, I don't even know what day this recording is supposed to be for. Happy Tuesday, I think? I think I'm right. Happy Tuesday, Grammar 5. So today we're going to be doing lesson 106, reading and ordering decimal numbers through 10,000ths. So this assumes and builds on the knowledge that you know your place values up to the 10,000ths. And notice how we're adding that awkward THS at the end, which means that it's going to be less than one whole. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. You should have done your facts practice, your mental math warm-up, your problem solving, and if you haven't, stop and do that and then come back. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of jump into this big idea here. So here we have a place value chart that is using dollars and cents to represent quantities. So we have our decimal right here. Anything to the left is a whole number or greater than 1. Anything to the right is less than 1. It is a portion of 1. So we know that our first place is the 10th place, which can be represented with dimes. 100th place is the pennies because there are 100 pennies. And then, this is something I didn't know until I read this lesson, the 1000th place is called mils. We don't have a 1,000th of a dollar in like a coin, but we have a name for it and it means it's a mil. So 10 mils equals 1 penny. Didn't know that at all. Have never used that in real life. So thank you, Saxon. But there you go. A mil is a real thing. So also it's important to know that with the place value and with the tenths, 100,000, every time you add another place value, you're going by multiplying by a 10. So 10 times 10 would be 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. And then you keep going. 10,000 times 10 would be 100,000. And that's how we establish our place value. So let's go on. So let's go ahead and use example 1. It says use words to name 12 and 625 thousandths. So the key here is recognizing what place value the last digit is in. When you notice that, so this is our 10th, 100th, thousandths, then you can just read this as a whole number, but make sure you add that place value of the last value or last number. So 625 thousandths. All right, let's look at this one. Round 7 and 345 thousandths to the nearest whole number. So we know that 7 and 345 thousandths is in between the whole numbers 7 and 8. So we got 7 over here. Oh, web whiteboard, you do this every time. Yep, look at that ugly. Here we go. 7. That's a 7, guys. You're welcome. Look at that. All right, so there's a 7 and then there's an 8, right? So if you look then at 7 and 345 thousandths, it's not quite at 7.5, which would be right here at 7.5. In fact, it's less than 7.5 because we're looking at our tenths value and we're looking at our 10th value here. So it's less than. So since it is less than 7 5/10, it is going to be rounded down to 7. So let's go to example 3. I'm going to actually pull it down a little bit so that we can do it over here. It says compare 4.5 or 4 5/10 to 4 and what is that? 456 thousandths. So what we're looking at here is the first decimal point, which is that tenth. So we got a 0.5 here and we've got a 0.4 here. So which one of these is greater? Well, 5/10 is greater in quantity than 4/10. And because of that, we're going to say that 4 and 5/10 is greater than 4 and 456 thousandths. Even though there are more decimal places to the right, you still look at the number that you're comparing or the place value, which is that 10th. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to clear this board, which you don't see. Ta-da! All right, example 4, it says arrange these decimal numbers in order from least to greatest. So here you have 45 hundredths, you have 457 thousandths, 5/10, and you have 475 10,000ths. So we need to basically add a lot of zeros to here to make sense of this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So you've got 0.45 or 45 hundredths, right? So since this final decimal, we're looking at comparing them with 4 places, we're going to put 2 zeros to make 4 places. Same thing with this guy right here, 457,000, thousandths. Again, it doesn't change anything when you add a 0 to the right. If you added a 0 here, it would, but not to the right. Let's look at 5/10. So we're going to keep it as 5, but we're going to add 3 zeros because we want everything to be 4 decimal places. And then finally you have the number 475 10,000ths. Sorry that it's so ugly. I've been doing this for a couple weeks now and my handwriting has improved, but still it's ugly. All right, so let's go ahead then and order it from least to greatest. So we look at our numbers here. We have 45s here, 45s, and then we even have a 0, 4. So this is actually going to be our lowest number right here because you have 0 in the tenths, and then you have a 4 in the hundredths. So that's going to be our first one. That's the smallest because it doesn't even have a number in the tenths. There's the first one. Then we look then at our 2 numbers that have the same value in the tenths and the hundredths. Then we go to the thousandths right here. And we say, okay, which is greater, 0 or 7? Well, 7 is greater, which makes this smaller. So it goes this way, and then it goes 45, and then 457 thousandths, and then finally you have 5/10. And that right there is ordered least to greatest. So we looked at our place value, we looked at our tenths first, then our hundredths, and we compared knowing what a greater than or less than number is. All right, and example 5 says, write 475 10,000ths as an unreduced fraction, then name both numbers. Okay, so this is where it's really important for you to know how to read this first. If you can read it first, then you can then write it as a fraction. So we know that this last number is in the 10,000th spot. So we know that that is equivalent to that number over 10,000. Well, what number over 10,000? 475 over 10,000. So now we would write this as 475 10,000ths. So guys, go ahead and do your lesson practice, get it all checked by a parent, and then do your mixed practice. And that is the lesson for today. Looking forward to checking in on Thursday. My voice is back, I'm feeling better, and that's that. So, okay, I would say talk to you tomorrow, but you'll hear my voice tomorrow. Okay, I'm just gonna sign off. Have a great day, guys.